A man wandered a desert for days, searching for water. Parched and desperate, he collapsed beneath the stars. In the silence, breath slowed, mind stilled, and there, in the cool hush of surrender, he heard it. A stream running just behind the ridge. He had passed it hours earlier, but the noise of seeking made him deaf to its sound. Some answers do not come in the asking. They are heard only when you stop asking. What if your desire was already on its way, but your asking kept it delayed? In this video, you'll learn why intense wanting often carries the vibration of lack, and how stillness, not striving, becomes the signal that completes the loop. We'll explore the forgotten art of silent manifestation and how to shift from desire into receiving. The universe heard you the first time. Now, your work is to stop asking. A man once cupped water in his hands from a clear stream, only to watch it slip through his fingers the tighter he tried to hold it. So it is with desire. The more desperately you grasp at your longing, the more it seems to retreat. You must understand, desire has two faces. One whispers truth, the other echoes lack. You must learn to feel the difference in your very breath. When you burn with longing, your energy often speaks not of fullness, but of distance. You vibrate not with what you seek, but with its absence. This is the subtle nature of desire frequency. It carries the tone of what you believe you don't yet have. And the universe, ever honest, echoes what you feel, not what you say, not what you hope. This is why so many feel stuck. They visualize, affirm, repeat, but still they wait. Because beneath their words, a quiet pulse of lack remains. Silent manifestation is not about what you want, but how you hold the wanting. If your hands are trembling, the signal becomes noise. But if you rest in quiet trust, the message is heard clearly. So, the question is not, what do I want? But how am I holding the wanting itself? Does it come from fullness or fear? Are you sending out lack in disguise? This is where the loop begins. And unless you see it, it repeats. A wheel turns not because it moves forward, but because it circles. And wanting, when misunderstood, becomes a wheel. You think you're advancing, visualizing, affirming, intending. But in truth, you're repeating the same inner posture. I do not yet have. This is how the loop begins. Desire becomes a habit of lack. Every time you repeat the thought, I want this, you reaffirm the space between you and it. You think you're calling it in, but you're announcing its absence. This is the nature of the subconscious. It listens not to the words, but to the energetic alignment beneath them. It responds to tone, not grammar. And the tone of wanting, when repeated, is delay. This is why the more you chase, the farther it seems to run. The loop becomes louder, more desperate, and eventually heavier. And so you try harder. You add techniques. You chase new methods. But all of it speaks the same language. It's not here yet. That is what gets impressed. And that is what is reflected. To step out of the loop, you must do something radical. You must stop reinforcing the desire and start living from the fulfillment. Because what breaks the loop is not more effort. It is the silent moment when you stop asking. The echo only fades when the shouting stops. So too with asking. There comes a moment, quiet and final, where you release the desire into the unseen and say no more. That moment, not the asking, not the effort, is when the manifestation truly begins. Because in stillness, the signal becomes whole, undistorted, pure. When you stop asking, you declare, it is done. You move from questioning into knowing, from hoping into claiming. The vibration frequency settles, like calm water after the stone sinks. In that calm, life begins to mirror you. Not because you asked again, but because you finally stopped needing to. You must understand, repetition often stems not from clarity, but from doubt. You repeat when you think the message wasn't heard. But the universe is not deaf. It responds to energetic certainty. And that certainty arrives the moment you stop trying to be heard and start trusting you already were. And from that trust, something deeper opens, a silence that receives. Because the true power of silent manifestation does not live in asking. It lives in what happens after you've asked. A flower does not force the sun to shine. It simply opens. This is the nature of true receiving. Not through repetition, not through striving, but through stillness. Silent manifestation is the art of becoming so aligned, so deeply rooted in trust, that your very being becomes the signal. You are no longer calling it in, you are allowing it in. Stillness is not the absence of energy. It is its most refined form. It is presence without effort, intention without noise. This is where true energetic alignment begins. You are not doing, you are being. You are the answered prayer walking as form. You are the field that receives without reaching. Words can only carry you so far. Scripts, rituals, affirmations, they have their place. But I tell you, the most powerful manifestation often occurs not in sound, but in sacred silence. In the quiet moment when you feel the desire has already arrived. That moment creates a ripple the world cannot ignore. This is the space most skip, the space after asking, where the seed is meant to rest. But instead of resting, they dig it up, and so the harvest delays. But when you leave it in the soil of your soul, still trusted, unseen, you begin to realize something remarkable. Your desire has already been answered. When a letter is posted, you do not run to the mailbox to see if it left. You trust the system, you let it go. The same law holds true in manifestation. Once you have imagined clearly, once the inner scene has been felt in full belief, the request has already left you. And I tell you, it has already been received. Neville Goddard taught that the imaginal act is not a wish, it is a creation. The moment it is done, the world begins to shift. Delay only arises when you try to resend what has already been delivered. When you reaffirm, revisualize, re-ask out of fear, you muddy the water. The signal becomes blurred. The delivery slows. There is no need to check the roots of a planted tree each morning. If you believed the desire was truly answered, how would you act? How would you wait? That posture, that trust, is faith energy. And it is more powerful than any spoken word. It completes what effort cannot. So now, rest in the knowing. You have asked, and it is done. Let that truth soak into your being, like morning light into still waters. And from that light arises something deeper, a new inner tone, the vibration of completion. A feast does not require a menu once it has been served. In the same way, the fulfilled soul no longer needs to seek. The vibration of completion is not loud, not proud. It is soft, rooted, certain. It is the frequency that says, I already have. And this tone, this gentle power, shapes reality faster than striving ever could. When you live from completion, you no longer check for signs. You walk in the assumption that the desire is already yours. Your thoughts follow a new rhythm, calm, creative, whole. This is vibration frequency at its most potent. It carries the echo of yes into everything you do, not because you are proving, but because you are already aligned. Neville Goddard called it living from the end. And this end is not a goal, it's a state. You are not pretending, you are returning. Returning to the version of yourself that no longer reaches, because it already has. This identity becomes magnetic, not because it tries, but because it already is. And yet many unknowingly interrupt this vibration. They try to help it along, add more, push harder. And in doing so, they create resistance. They create static. They create interference. When a musician overtunes a string, the note dies. So too with desire. The more you stretch, the more you tighten. And eventually, the vibration becomes noise. Trying too hard is not a sign of alignment. It is often the signal of separation. True manifestation doesn't respond to force. It responds to resonance. The energy of trying carries a hidden message. It's not here yet. And that message, when repeated, becomes a broadcast. The universe, perfect in its reflection, echoes what you feel, not what you request. The effort, the urgency, the obsession. They all say the same thing. I do not yet believe. Energetic interference doesn't just delay results, it exhausts the soul. You add practices, chase signs, adjust methods, and yet nothing moves. Not because the desire is wrong, but because the signal is cluttered. The most powerful manifestation requires clarity, and clarity lives in stillness. So the answer is not more doing. It is less noise, less needing, less correcting. You stop trying to reach the thing, and instead, you become the one who has it. This is the subtle shift, the one that makes all the difference. A flame does not ask to burn. It simply is. So it is with the self who has already received. There is a moment, quiet and invisible, where you stop identifying as the one who wants and begin moving as the one who has. It is not loud, it is not announced. It is a sacred pivot in identity. This shift is not made with effort, it is made with awareness. You pause, you breathe, you feel, and in that still breath you ask, what would I feel if it were already done? That single sensation, repeated gently, tunes your being to fulfillment. You are no longer chasing, you are remembering, you are becoming. This is the moment silent manifestation begins to fully unfold. Not when the outer changes, but when you do. Your posture changes, your tone softens, your steps feel different. This is not acting, it is not pretending, it is energetic alignment through identity. You are the cause, and your world must follow. And once you begin to live this way, to move not from wanting, but from being, you will see something remarkable. You no longer question, no longer search, no longer ask, because something deeper has taken root. Faith. A seed does not scream as it grows. It trusts the soil to do its part. This is the final act of manifestation. Faith. Not belief shouted into the void, but quiet, unwavering knowing. When the imaginal act is done, when the feeling is felt, the only thing left is faith. And I tell you, it is more than enough. Faith is not hope. Hope waits. Faith knows. It walks differently. It rests without checking. This is faith energy, an internal posture so still, so complete, that the outer world must conform. Not immediately, but inevitably, because reality cannot resist the vibration of certainty. Neville Goddard often said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and sleep in it. Sleep, not scramble. Faith is the sleep of creation. It does not try to prove. It does not need to revisit. It holds no fear of delay. It is the frequency of already, and that frequency is the closing seal. So rest now. Let the seed grow in silence. What you have imagined is unfolding, not through your effort, but through your certainty. And from this final stillness, from this surrender, a new life begins to bloom. What if the asking was never the power, but the stopping? Have you been speaking your desire over and over, when what's truly needed is quiet faith? Can you feel the difference between wanting and being the one who already has? Let your reflections flow in the comments. And if this message softened something within you, like the video, subscribe and tap the bell, so we can continue this path of silent receiving together.